Hey, good morning, guys, and welcome to Ham Radio with K0PIR and my YouTube channel. Did you know HRD Logbook and JT Alert are back together again? They are, and I've got a real simple solution. I'm not even running Ham Radio Deluxe rig control. I'm using WSJT-X for rig control. So one cable, WSJT-X for rig control, and then JT Alert for logging into HRD Logbook. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, well, the idea for this video came from a forum that I was watching, and people were having trouble using Ham Radio Deluxe Logbook and WSJT-X with JT Alert. They just couldn't seem to get the rig control working, and I think they were trying to use Ham Radio Deluxe as the rig. That can be a little bit tricky. I've got a different way to do it, and this way we're not using Ham Radio Deluxe, the rig control. We're not using this part of it. We're just using Ham Radio Deluxe Logbook. So you can put your icon away for Ham Radio Deluxe rig control. I'm going to assume that most of you have HRD Logbook, WSJT-X, and JT Alert installed. If you don't, go ahead and go to the websites, install them. So let's do first things first. We're going to open up HRD Logbook. Find the icon on your desktop, open it up, and as soon as you open it, you'll get an error, and it just says connection failed. That's okay. Just click the OK button. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and configure WSJT-X. So I'm going to open up mine, and I'll show you how I have it configured. As you can see, I'm using the Icom 7610. It's up in the right hand corner. I'm using a single USB cable, and this will apply to the 7300 and all other radios. Basically, you just have to figure out what COM port, what baud rate you're going to be using. So in WSJT-X, I'm going to go over to File and Settings and show you how I have mine set up. I'm using the latest versions here, and if you've got Ham Radio Deluxe already installed and you've been trying to get WSJT-X and using rig control and you just can't do it, this is a simple way, simple solution. In the General tab, I've got a few things checked off here. None of these are real important to the connection that we're going to be doing. What's really important is the Radio tab, and I'm using the Icom 7610. That's my radio, and my serial port is COM4, and my baud rate is 115.2. So if you're using the Icom 7300, just find your COM port, and the way to do that is just go into Device Manager and have a look. Go to your ports and find your Silicon Labs port or driver. On my 7610, that is COM4, and I know it is, but on yours you probably won't have so many. Find your COM port, and you can close that, and then set the baud rate. And in the 7300 we want to have the baud rate at 115.2. The 7610 we want it at 115.2. And to get that maximum baud rate, you need to go into the CIV, go into connectors and then CIV, and unlink from remote in those two radios, unlink from remote, and then set the baud rate to 115.2. Alright, and then if you're using a different radio, it's real simple. Just set your radio, the COM port that your radio is connected to your computer, and then set up the baud rate. I didn't have to touch anything in here. And we want to be careful. If you have your radio set up like mine, you want to have DTR and RTS blank. You just don't want to have anything in there. On push to talk, we're going to be using CAT. And then this applies to the 7610 and the 7300. We want to use data packet, and we want to use fake it. And once you have this set up, you ought to be able to hit test cat, and it'll turn green. And if you look at my radio in the top right hand corner, I'm going to hit test push to talk, and that will put the radio into transmit. Got a little red light there. So everything's working. The next place you want to go is the audio tab, and on the sound card, the input and the output is the USB audio codec. So whether you use it, and I've got mine named here, Icom 7610. I've customized it, but yours may just say USB audio codec. Whether you're using the 7300, the 7610, or another radio, or a different, maybe a signal link USB. Your sound card, the input and output, is going to be the same, the USB audio codec, and I didn't have to change anything down here. We can take a look at the transmit macros, and I've got a few in here, and I don't use them that often anymore because things happen so quick on FT8. On the reporting tab, let's take a look at this. I've got logging, prompting me to log the QSO. I don't want to forget to log it if something should go wrong, and I want to see that window pop up. I got the reports to the comments checked off here, and I can uncheck that because mine logs really well, and those reports go into HRD Logbook. Network services, I've got enabled PSK reporter, the spotting, and if you haven't looked at that, go and just type in PSK reporter into Google, and that'll bring up the website, a link to the website, and you'll see what that's all about. The UDP server, I think this is the default. Everything in here is the default numbers, and we want to check these off. Accept UDP request and notify, and then accepted. And I believe we need these checked off to work correctly with JT Alert. Then down here, I'm not using N1MM logger, so I don't have to set up anything in here. In the frequencies, you know, sometimes this will get wiped out, and I had lots of people contact me. When this is wiped out from this drop down menu, I'm going to go over here. If that's wiped out, you won't have anything underneath this drop down menu. So to fix that, I'm going to go back in there over to the frequencies tab. To fix that, just right click and left click on reset, and it'll ask you to reset the working frequencies. Click yes, and it'll put everything back in there for you. I didn't change anything on the colors. I like mine just the way they are. And then on the advanced tab, I didn't change anything in there. So the important ones are the radio, your rig, COM port, baud rate. Didn't have to change anything in here. On the 7300 and 7610, leave these blank. Push to talk, cat, and mode, data packet, and fake it. I'm going to go back to these DTR and RTS. I have lots of people contacting me. When they open up a software program, their radio keys up. And if they have their radio set like mine is set up under the USB send, if you have it set to RTS like me, and I have on my website and in my videos, if you have RTS set to high or low, that will key the transmitter when you start your software. So any of those software programs, if you have the USB send set to RTS on your Icom radio, and then you have something set in here for RTS, it will usually key your radio, especially if you have high set. So that's something to watch out for with those Icom radios, and if you're following me on my website. The other is the audio tab. We'll take a look at that again. The sound card input and output, the USB audio codec, and then the reporting. You want to make sure that you have these checked, and go ahead and enable PSK reporter spotting. And then in the frequencies, if this is blank, right click in it, click on reset, and then click yes, and it'll put all those frequencies back in there for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now we've got WSJT-X working, and of course HRD Logbook over here. But if I log somebody, if I log a contact right now, it's not going to go into HRD Logbook. it's going to go into a file for WSJT-X. It's got its own little logbook. If you want to go ahead and make it really fun, go ahead and install WSJT-X and JT Alert. That's this icon here, and it's on hamapps.com. It's called JT Alert, and this is the icon that we're using. It'll install a bunch of different icons if you let it, but this is the one that we want. And I'm going to go ahead and open it up and show you how I have it configured for HRD Logbook. Let me double click on it. It'll open up, and the first place I'm going to go is settings and manage settings. And it will bring up the alerts, and there's an awful lot to go through on here. You can leave it pretty much the default. One thing that I'll show you that I do, and that is in here for the CQ. I had to look for it for a second. For the CQ and QRZ, when you see the stations pop up over here in the JT Alert window, they'll have a little asterisk next to them, and that's all CQs. And that's great. You see one of those and you want to contact them, you just click on it, and it'll start the transmission, the auto sequencing. But a lot of people don't have this checked off, and I've got it checked off, and it puts a little pound sign next to the call sign, and that makes it a directional CQ. It will show the directional CQs, and that's somebody calling CQDX or CQ Alabama. And when those show up in this window, they'll have a little pound sign next to them, and that just shows me to be careful and take a look at who they're calling CQ for. If it's an Alabama station and he's calling CQDX, I'm not going to try to make a contact with him. Then again, if it is a DX station calling CQDX, that's fine. I can go ahead and try to make a contact with him. So this will help me differentiate and keep me from bothering people in the U.S. that are trying to call CQDX or CQ Alabama or CQ Utah. So that is a helpful little tip there. What we want to do is set up logging. And I'm going to go over to logging, and it's HRD version 5, version 6. And you want to enable this, and we're using the later version, 6.4. Select it, and then all you have to do is find your log name. And mine is a MySQL database log, so yours may look a little bit different. If you're using the default log that comes along with HRD, it'll look a little bit different, but it will auto-populate for you. And I don't think people are having trouble with this part so much. They're having trouble with WSJT-X connecting to their radio. And so this is important for it to log into HRD Logbook. Now if you're using a different log, of course, if you're using AC log, you want to go ahead and select it and enable it. And I've got a video on AC log too. I don't have one on log 4OM. I think I've got one for DX Keeper. It works really well. That's my logbook that I'm using now, DX Keeper, which is part of DX Lab Suite. But I noticed in the forum that lots of people are having trouble with HRD Logbook and just getting WSJT-X working properly with their radio. So set up a HRD log, and we can go down here and take a look at a few of the other ones. The applications, the auto start, I normally have it set to start WSJT-X for me. So when I double click on the JT Alert icon, it will start WSJT-X for me. And all you have to do is select that and then go in and find where your WSJT-X is installed. And then I'll also have it set to close it too. So all I have to do is close JT Alert, and it'll close close WSJT-X for me. We can take a look at the WSJT-X here, and I believe all of these are probably just the default. It's not real important. This is something you can come back and take a look at. If we go down to web services, I'll click on that, and these are the ports, and they're just default ports. This one is for text messages, and I'm not going to go into a lot on this. The online logbooks, you can go ahead and set yours up if you want. I have in my HRD logbook, it uploads automatically to EQSL and to hrdlog.net, and then to qrz.com, and then I manually upload to LOTW. So I don't have that set up. I used to. I just tried it out to see if it worked, and it does work. The scan, log, and rebuild, there's a lot of stuff in here. If you want to use the sound on JT Alert, you can play around with this. A lot of stuff that you can go through and take a look at. But the basics are just setting up the logbook. Get that going. And then click Save, and then click OK. Now we're ready to operate. So I'm going to go ahead and erase these windows. And I'll hopefully show you how simple this is. And okay, let's see if I can make a contact here. I'm running about 30 watts. I can I'll make sure that my antenna is tuned up. Hit the auto tuner on the front of the radio, and I'm going to find a free or a clear spot here on the waterfall, and I'm just going to hit the tune. Look at my power meter, 25 watts, that's perfect. No SWR, and no ALC showing. Okay, let me see if I can make a contact. See if I can get somebody here calling CQ. Oklahoma, I'll click him once. Starts transmitting. If you look at the top right hand corner, you'll see the radio is transmitting, and about 25 watts. See if I can get this guy in Oklahoma. I'll show you what it looks like when you log a contact. Oh boy, that was almost too easy. And I got the signal report for him. I'm sending one back to him. Got auto sequencing checked off down here. Alright, I got it from him, and that brings up the window for WSJT-X to log. And I'm just going to take a look at this. I'm not running 30 watts, I'm running 25 watts. And I'm going to put in here Icom 7610. Everything's okay. It'll pull the name in HRD Logbook. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And there it is. It went behind the little picture of the radio, but it did log KE5IRK. It logged him, and it should have uploaded to qrz.com. Let's see. I'll pull it up over here. Oh, we used to drag combines through there going to Gettysburg, South Dakota. He just sent me a text message. I'm going to hit reply. Good old days. Let's see. Yep, pulled it up here on the other screen. QRZ. It went ahead and uploaded it to QRZ. I'm sure it did a EQSL, and then to HRDlog.net. So got a successful contact there. It's really simple. You don't have to use Ham Radio Deluxe rig control. All you have to do is open up your logbook and then set WSJT-X for rig control. Set it up this way with the radio, the COM port, baud rate, CAT for push to talk, and then on these Icom radios, data, packet, and fake it. And it'll work for you. Okay, at the last part of that video, I made a contact and the transmission locked up my USB camera. Didn't want to redo it because it was a good contact, and it also showed a text message, which was just out of the blue. So here's a little follow-up, and I've got my problem fixed with my USB camera. Now when I transmit it doesn't lock up the camera. So let me see if I can make a contact here. There's a station calling CQ, and again I'm just running 25 watts on FT8, and I'm using JT Alert, HRD Logbook, and WSJT-X. So I'll give this station a call. I'm even on the same band, and we'll see what happens. K9WZB. Okay, he came back to me. Boy, I'm just getting lucky here. He came back to me, and I got a signal report. I'm sending him a Roger and a signal report. I'll put a link below on this PDF file. It's the FT8 operating guide. Real good guide to breeze through and take a look. I've looked at it, and it's really good. So if you're new to FT8, take a look at that guide. So there it is, and I've got everything in there. I've got 25 watts. I still have my signal report showing up in the comments, and I don't really need that. It logs it into HRD Logbook just fine. So I'm going to put in the Icom 7610, and then just click OK, and it logs into HRD Logbook. I get his name, and of course the signal report in there, the correct mode, all of that. So it looks good, and that was automatically uploaded to QRZ.com. Okay, I hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up below. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be producing a lot more videos on the Icom 7610, the 7300, and lots of other software programs to come. Thanks for watching. 73 and good DX.